How's it going, everyone, and welcome back to another Wizard101 video. I'm your host, Frenzy, and today I actually did want to make at least one test run video on something that honestly is just really cool and has a lot of potential, to say the least. We're going to be talking about the new Archmastery system here. So just a little bit of a quick rundown. So you are actually able to use this new system once you hit level 50, which is really cool. I was worried that this new and really cool system was only going to be available for those who are questing in Novice and Novice only. So it's going to be like only a max level thing. But I do personally believe it's a really awesome decision. In fact, the best decision that K has ever made for a lot of things, and that says a lot, to be able to have this be allowed for even lower level wizards, because now this makes combat within Wizard101 more interesting, because unfortunately a lot of Wiz combat is very linear in the case of Blade into AoE, and that's pretty much what it is. It still is the most efficient way to do things, but it's not the only way to do things, because now you have access to a new system that allows you to try different things. And I'm going to show you guys a little bit as to how that works. So basically, we have that new stat that's, Arch Mastery rating, which I'm assuming that, if number go up, then your efficiency of getting a school pip go up. But that's not the only thing that will determine a school pip. Currently, we have it set to fire because we're using fire spells. We also are using life spells too, but we have fire spells currently. And our efficiency for PvE is 100. For PvP, it's 36. Now, chances are once this hits live realm, it's going to be a little bit lower. I would assume the PvE one will be a little bit lower. I'm assuming that it won't be lower too much, hopefully not. But basically, that's currently what we have in terms of our efficiency. Now, you might be wondering what else will affect it. Well, it's basically how you build your deck. So the less deck space you have, the higher the number goes in your efficiency. So let's say if I did tower shields and volcanic shields, now our efficiency is around 55%, which is pretty good. So currently, as you can see, I'm actually unable to use the Seraph spell because right now I only have 2 fire pips and the power pip. And as you can see, obviously Seraph needs, 4 pips, basically meaning that I need a life pip in order to use it. So let's say instead we're gonna decide going for a life version here. We're gonna go for a life pip here. But as you can see now, right, so you have a life pip here and a fire pip. So the thing is that you don't necessarily have a universal pip like a power pip in order to use a spell like Seraph. So you have to wait another life pip or at least a power pip in order to be able to use the Seraph spell. Okay, so let's say now that we got a little bit tired of getting life pips, let's say we just want to go back to using fire spells. So now we're just going to switch it back to fire here. I'm also going to use the Dark Pact to set up for a really nice skeletal dragon in the future. Now, honestly, in hindsight, I probably shouldn't have been buffing this much because this guy doesn't have that much health. Hopefully I don't crit. Yeah, okay, good. This is like the one time in my life that I was hoping not to crit. It's crazy. Imagine. Couldn't be me. Definitely could be me, though. Alright. And then we can do something really cool with this. Now that we got another fire pip here, we can now use Fire Cat and just use that one school pip and just do a wombo combo here. It's going to be amazing, I promise you. Although it won't look as awesome because this guy is way too big and for some reason, Wiz still hasn't fixed these camera angles, but it's fine. We're just trying to showcase the cool strats we can probably do with it. So with this, now we can use something like a detonate here. It did 2,000 damage because it did the other 2 overtime damage. It's really awesome. And that's that when it comes to, using your power or your Archmastery in action. Okay, so now that you got to see Archmastery in action, let's talk a little bit about the good and the bad that comes with Archmastery. Because yes, I do think that overall this is a really amazing system and it's going to be making PvE more fun and interesting. The other thing is that it puts more emphasis on bigger deck builds for PvP. So in theory, maybe not as much linear strats, which honestly I would love to see more non-linear strats. My personal choice, honestly, to see. But also in terms of the casual scene, you're now given more reason to go for secondary schools. You're also given more reasons to go for secondary school spell elements in order to use specific strategies that will not only make the game a little bit more fun to play, but also can bring more interesting combat mechanics to make fights easier than they would have been if we didn't have this system. But let's talk a little bit about the bad. I feel like it's just missing a very big piece of a very big puzzle, and that is access to the Rochambeau spells. I've mentioned this time and time again, I really want to see these spells in PvE in some shape or form within us to be allowed to use, because Rochambeau's gives us a lot of power to utilize utilities, not just for spells like Jin, you know, for the gambits and all, but also just the utilities in general that allow us to try out some different strategies if we so wish. And this will be really good overall if we had access to Rochambeau spells in PvE, because the moment that we get access to these, we now have some time to be able to practice with them throughout our journey in the spiral. And once we, somehow, once casual now wants to become a competitive player, you now have an idea as to how Rochambeaus work, and you don't necessarily have to go through that big of a hurdle in terms of getting into PvP, because now you pretty much have every spell at your disposal. It's just up to you if you want to learn how to utilize them or not within the casual sense, within the casual scene. And I want to see these spells just be freed within PvE, because as you can see within the new Novice spells, a lot of them, for a lot of the casual players, have felt in a sense underwhelming. And honestly, that's just because by design, the design is spell do damage good, spell do no damage bad. Even if it's good utility, because it do no damage, spell bad. That's usually the mindset with a lot of the casual players, and I can understand that because by design the game was made that way. Now, from the looks of it with Novice, developers kind of want to, in a sense, stray away from that. They still want to make very powerful spells, but they also want us to, try out new things and make the combat a little bit more interesting. Which is why I said before that it's a really good thing that we were able to learn Archmastery at level 50. As you can see, my walkthrough wizard at being level 69, able to use Archmastery, which is amazing. And the walkthrough is definitely going to be going really well in an awesome direction in a more interesting way because of this new system. We just need that one missing piece of the puzzle to be implemented in order to see the full potential. Because like I said before, with the new Novice spells, for example, like the Death one, it gives you a Stormblade, which you will never properly use in general. However, if you were to have access to this Rochambeau spell like Jin, it helps you set up for Jin. Now you have a reason to use it because you can set up for Jin, which would do an insane amount of damage for you and will help with a lot of bosses as well. You can use a spell like Dr. Vaughn's Monster, but this spell is a lot more powerful in the sense that if you get the double gambit, it will do much more damage. So again, missing piece of the puzzle. If you get that missing piece, it will be an absolutely almost a really perfect system, if not a perfect system. So that's all I have to say. I hope you guys did enjoy today's video. If you guys happen to have any questions about this new system, let me know. I may be able to answer some of those questions for you, or maybe some people in the chat will be able to answer it better than I can. But make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you haven't, because it helps with the algorithm. And as always, remember to stay frenzy. Peace.